Hi there. This is our FAFSA tutorial on dependency. So a lot of students can kind of get confused. Am I a dependent student or an independent student when it comes to financial aid? So the general rule of dependency is that students are considered dependent students until they're 24 years old. And that is why their parents must provide parent income information on the FAFSA application along with the student. And the reason for this is kind of the federal methodology is that the U.S. government or the state governments may be willing to help students with financial aid and loans and give some assistance when going to college, but they also believe that parents have a responsibility to help their students, their children with college as well. And so that's why they want them to have some skin in the game, and that's why we have what they call an EFC at the end of your federal application. That expected family contribution is kind of, based on your family situation, we believe you can help to a certain extent with the college, or maybe your family income situation is to a point where, okay, we can provide more financial aid, and parents can get a little bit of a break that way. So the FAFSA has a whole section on student dependency, and these questions, like we're seeing the first question, what is your marital status? Again, this is student information. The student is answering these questions about themselves. This is not information about parents. And as we go through these, this helps determine, does the student considered dependent or independent? So marital status. One of the things with dependency is if the student is single, they may be dependent or independent. But if a student is already married, maybe you have a student who's 19 years old and married, they would automatically be considered an independent student and stand alone on their FAFSA. But for the purpose, most of our students attending college are not married yet, or they're graduating high school and they're not married yet, so most students are single as they're starting the FAFSA right now. The next question is, do you now have or will you have children who will receive more than half their support from you during the next school year? Or do you have other dependents other than your children? Maybe you're taking care of a niece or someone or something like that. So again, this is for a student is dependent if they're under 24 years old unless they have children and are taking care of those children. So, and the way we look at it at COS2 is, are you supporting that child? So if you have moved out of the home, you're going to college, you have a dependent child you were taking care of, then yes, you would be an independent student. But if you have a child but you're still living home with mom and dad are taking care of you and the baby while you're going to school, we would treat you still as a dependent student and in the parent household. So again, for the purpose of this FAFSA, do you have children who receive more than half their support from you? No, we do not. And we have no other children or people that are dependent to us. The next group of questions, again, reasons that you could be considered an independent student if you are not yet 24 years old. Are you currently serving on active duty in the armed forces or the military? Are you a veteran? At any time since you turned age 13, were both your parents deceased? Were you in foster care, or were you a dependent or ward of the court? So again, if you're an orphan, your parents have passed away, and maybe you're living with grandparents. It doesn't matter. It's your parents the FAFSA looks at. Your parents have passed away. You are an independent student. Your grandparents are not required to submit their income information if they haven't legally adopted you and so forth. Foster care student, again, you can stand independently on your own as a foster student. And again, a ward of the court means there were court documents that maybe you were sent to live with your aunt and uncle under a court-ordered document, and they are now in charge of you and not your parents. But if you serve time in juvenile hall, that would not be this type of ward of the court. Also, as determined by a court of your state legal residence, were you an emancipated minor? So did you take your parents to court and sue them to become emancipated and stand on your own as an independent person? If you did that and have that documentation, you would check a box. Does someone other than your parent or step-parent have legal guardianship of you? So again, that's where I talked about students get really confused on this question because they say, well, yeah, my mom and dad are my legal guardians. That is not what this question is asking. Again, this is more, did something happen and is there a court-ordered document where your grandparents and aunt and uncle or some other person not even related to you is maybe your legal guardian, and you have court documents that you could show the financial aid office that say, these people are my guardians, so therefore they don't have to provide their income on the FAFSA. as a student will stand alone as an independent student. So again, if you don't meet any of these criteria, you are answering the box none of the above. And then again, there are questions on or after July 2019. Were you homeless, or were you self-supporting or at risk of being homeless? So again, if you are in one of those situations where your housing is a bad situation, if you clicked yes, I believe it just lets you click yes. It doesn't ask for any additional information. And as always on a FAFSA, you can, if you're not sure what the question is asking, you can click on the question mark to the side, and that will open up another window describing what this question wants you to answer or how to answer that question as best it can. If you say yes on this, it's just going to flag it for the financial aid office when they see your FAFSA application, and we will reach out to you. If you said you were foster youth or any of those other conditions and you're not yet 24, it just kind of flags your application for us in the financial aid office to do more work and to follow up with you and to get additional documentation to verify and document that yes, you are indeed eligible to stand as an independent student. And then we would process that accordingly. So again, here we'll say you're not at risk of being homeless. And we're always available in the financial aid office at the school you attend. Reach out to your financial aid office to help clarify any unique household family situations or income, so that we can best guide you as to how to set up your FAFSA and process your financial aid. So we answered all those questions that we didn't really meet any of those criteria. And again, the majority of students will answer this way. And based on your answers to the dependency status questions, you are considered a dependent student. And this means you must provide parental information. So you say, yes, I will provide information about my parents. Sometimes there may still be some extenuating circumstances where I can't provide information. Maybe they're incarcerated, they're out of the country, I don't know where they are, I've kind of been abandoned. There are situations where students need some additional help. You could click that, and the FAFSA will basically be skipping questions about your parents. But again, dependency does not mean, hey, I'm 20 years old, I've moved out of my parents' home, I have my own apartment, I have my own job, I file my own taxes, they do not claim me as a dependent. So for all intents and purposes, I am an independent person living on my own at age 20. Yes, you are. But in the world of financial aid, if you're not 24, you are still a dependent, and your parents must help you on the FAFSA and provide information. And there are cases where parents say, I will not share that information, I will not help with that. And in that situation, the financial aid office really can't do anything. We can't offer financial aid. So again, just because you live on your own does not mean you're independent. You have to meet one of these special criteria. So most students do provide, say they will provide information about their parents, and they click the next. And I believe that should be kind of the last question on that section.